Hi, I'm Brianna.
And I'm Akira.
And you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
That was good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So ESPN's Bernardo Osuna is at it again. For those of you guys who don't know Bernardo too well, he works for ESPN and ESPN Deportes, the Spanish version of ESPN. And for some strange reason, when Bernardo is on the Spanish version of ESPN, he's a lot more open with his views. Now, before we get into what he said about Gervonta and Canelo Alvarez, I want to give you guys a little bit more of his history. Back in 2022, right after Terence Crawford became the first person to knock out Shawn Porter, ESPN had a 5-man panel. They had Tim Bradley, Max Kellerman, Joe Tessitore, Mark Kriegel, and Bernardo Osuna. Well, before Terence Crawford knocked out Shawn Porter, all 5 of them, they had Canelo Alvarez as pound for pound number 1. After Crawford beat Shawn Porter, all of them but one said that Crawford is now pound for pound number 1, the best fighter in the world. Guess which one of them said that Canelo Alvarez is still number 1? It was Bernardo Osuna. Now, I know some of you guys are saying, well, that's not that much of a surprise. I mean, Bernardo is Mexican. But guess what? Even the Mexican commentators from ESPN Deportes, they also told Bernardo that Crawford was pound for pound number 1. And then to make things worse for Bernardo, the guy in the middle of this image right here, David Feitelston, he was given his top 5 pound for pound list. So he said Crawford was number 1, and then when he was about to say number 2, Bernardo cut him off, and he was like, Usyk, right? And David was like, no. And Bernardo said, well, is it a Noe? And David said, no, it's Errol Spence. My number 2 is Errol Spence. Man, this pissed off Bernardo so much that he just yelled out and said, well, if Terence Crawford and Errol Spence don't fight against each other, then they're cowards. Now remember, they're speaking in Spanish, and the Spanish word for coward is cobardes. So he calls them cowards. And we know that Crawford and Errol Spence, they end up fighting against each other. But when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, Canelo has been avoiding David Benavidez for years. He didn't fight David Benavidez, he didn't fight David Morrell, and to this day, Bernardo Osuna still hasn't called Canelo a coward. And then it was the time he dissed Floyd Mayweather. When Guillermo Rigondeaux first started fighting on Top Rank, knocking out all of his opponents, Bernardo, he dissed Rigo and Floyd Mayweather by saying nobody is really going to be interested in watching him fight because he's just another Mayweather. And keep in mind, this was at the time when Rigo was knocking out all of his opponents on ESPN. And he disses Mayweather, who was the biggest star in the entire sport. Something you would expect to hear from a Mexican fan. But I will say this, though. There is a difference from the Mexican fans in Mexico and the Mexican fans that live in America, which you guys could clearly see the dichotomy when I was showing you guys the image of the other analyst from Mexico that was disagreeing with Bernardo, saying, no, Terence Crawford is still pound for pound number 1. Those analysts are from Mexico. You see, the difference is a lot of the fans straight from Mexico who live in Mexico, they're boxing fans. All of the Mexicans in America are complete race fans, which really just means they're anti-black. Okay, so now that I done completely gave you Bernardo Osuna's background, let's get into what he just recently said about Canelo Alvarez and Gervonta Tank Davis, or what he didn't say about Gervonta. Bernardo was recently on ESPN Deportes, and he said the only superstar in the sport of boxing is Canelo Alvarez. Now, I want to make it very clear. He wasn't saying the only face of boxing. He said the only superstar, which is pretty ironic because he was dissing Floyd Mayweather for being a bigger superstar than Canelo ever was. So Bernardo says that Canelo Alvarez is the only superstar, implying obviously that Tank Davis is not a superstar at all, but he calls Naoya Inoue a megastar in Japan. And then he says Usyk is another one that doesn't get the respect that he deserves. So wait a minute. If you're saying that Usyk doesn't get the respect that he deserves, that means that you're basically admitting that he's not a megastar. He's praising 2 fighters from other countries that are not stars in America while saying the American Gervonta Tank Davis is not a superstar at all. And the only thing he actually says about Gervonta in this clip is Gervonta has potential. Now, the clip is in Spanish, but I want to go ahead and play it just for further proof of what he actually said.
Todas las promotoras tienen sus peleadores protegidos. Todas las promotoras tienen aquellos peleadores que sienten que pueden ser figuras, pero superestrellas hay una y es Canelo Álvarez, porque ni Gervonta Davis le llega a los talones todavía a Saúl el Canelo Álvarez. Tiene potencial, pero la gente también se está cansando de no verlo en las grandes peleas y también ya le está exigiendo lo mismo que se le exige al Canelo, pero el Canelo ya ha hecho tanto arriba del boxeo que dices, bueno, ya está en la parte final de su carrera. Gervonta Davis está por cumplir 30 años y ¿cuál es su gran pelea hasta el momento? La del Pitbull Cruz. Por favor, ¿qué le hizo el Rayo Valenzuela al Pitbull Cruz? Vamos a poner todo en contexto y superestrellas hay una. Y hay otra que es una mega figura en Japón y que está ganándose el puesto y es Naoya Inoue. Y otra también que merece mucho más respeto, Alexander Usyk, pero que por razones geográficas o lo que tú quieras, pues no pelea en Estados Unidos y no se le da el respeto que merece, pero de que hay talento y hay peleadores que van subiendo, que tienen potencial, pero superestrellas, está complicado y eso es algo que va a tener, con lo que va a tener que lidiar el deporte de los puños.
Now listen, I have to reiterate this point. It's one thing to say that Canelo Alvarez is the only superstar. But once you say that Naoya Inoue is a mega star in Japan and Usyk as well, meaning he was trying to say that Usyk is a mega star too, but he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, and you don't include Gervonta Tank Davis's name, that means you were never basing this on being a superstar. You were basing the whole conversation on race. And for Bernardo to say that Naoya Inoue is a mega star in Japan, yeah, he's right. He is a mega star in Japan, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot for a couple of reasons. First of all, Japan is around the size of California, and you can't be a mega star without being well known in America. I mean, fighters like Chocolatito Gonzalez, even Manny Pacquiao, they were already mega stars before they came over to America. So they were very well known in their own countries, but not in America. And we already know that Gervonta Tank Davis is a much bigger star than Usyk. So what Bernardo Osuna is saying, it doesn't add up. But going back to Canelo, it's something I did want to talk about is if you guys notice, they haven't officially released Canelo Alvarez's pay-per-view numbers when it comes to the Berlanga fight, which is why some of the biggest websites in America, they never reported the numbers. There were some people on the internet spreading rumors that the numbers was 650,000 to 750,000. Even Dan Rafael came out and said that that was a lie. And then there was another tweet from Dan Rafael where he said that when he gets the numbers, he's going to report them. And Dan, he never came back and reported them. Why is that? Why is there no official pay-per-view numbers when it comes to Canelo's last fight? All I can tell you guys is normally when a pay-per-view event does like really, really good numbers, the reports usually come out like a week after the fight and everyone is reporting them. When I say everyone, I'm talking about all of the major boxing websites. That didn't happen when it comes to this fight. With that being said, I'm gonna wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes,
Fever blisters, diabetic ulcers.
this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Key Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to lodekey.com.
Like them on Facebook and follow them on Instagram.
Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.